Hi, Dawn Lewis here. It's day 3 in our 7 Ways in 7 Days ATC series featuring the Cats Meow by Mama Elephant, which you can find in Australia at dawnlewis.com.au. Here are my ingredients today, and there aren't many: my ATC card and some pattern paper, double-sided tape, scissors. I will be using blending cards so I can colour with some Copics, and I have some clear Nouveau drops. It's quite a flat one today, and we're going to start with the watercolour ATC base. It's 2.5 by 3.5 inches, which is standard for an artist trading card, and I'm just putting a little 3mm double-sided tape on, flipping it upside down and putting it on the back of my pattern paper. This is some serious stash diving. This paper is really old, but I really love the way it works. I'm just marking it with a pencil on my blending card and trimming a piece down for my stamping. So I'm figuring out how tall I need to make it and marking that with a pencil as well, so that I'm not wasting my blending card. I'll use that small leftover piece for a future project. I'm popping my blending card in my stamping tool, and I'm going to stamp out my kitty cat border using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I am going to double stamp this because Memento just isn't the darkest black, and I like to have it nice and crisp and dark. So I've double stamped. I'll clean my stamps a little later. First, we're going to colour with Copic markers. Now, this is a bit of a long video. You can see all of the colours that I'm using over on the left hand side of your screen, and there is a full list of materials on my blog. I did want to show you the entire colouring process, and my new software kind of forces me to slow it down a little bit more than I used to be able to speed it up. I figured that might be helpful to those of you who have these fantastic border stamps, be it cats, dogs or bunnies. This is a lot of critters all in one space to colour, so I did want to show you exactly how I did it, how I built up my colour. So I've tried to stick to just as few colour schemes for the cats as I possibly could. I'd also try not to have it so that they kind of double up, so that there's not the identical colour next to each other, unless they look like twins and I wanted to give them that twin look. But I'm trying to keep my different shades of brown far enough apart so that there's another cat dividing them. Now you see the kitty there with the heart in its hand. That's going to be my feature kitty for this one. So I'm working all around it, and that kitty is going to, well, you probably saw it in the preview, but that kitty's going to be green. Now, I know there's no such thing as green cats. If your cat is green, you should take it to the vet immediately. But it's a fun card, and I wanted to play with the colours in the background paper. Now, I have been scrapbooking and card making for decades, so I'm trying to work through a lot of the scraps and leftovers that I have in my stash, because some of them have been in there for 10, even 15 years. I mean, that's insane, isn't it? I keep mine in page protectors, big 12 by 12 page protectors, and it does a really good job actually at keeping them in great shape. So you can see how I'm colouring 2 cats at once. I'll put down the first coat on both kitties, and I'll come back in with the darker colours, and I'll go and do the other one. I'll come back to the first one. So it's just a good way for me to sort of, if I've got the cap off the marker while it's in my hand, I may as well be using it, right? I mean, why not? These ones are done with the E30s. I did start with E30 in hindsight. I wish I'd actually started with E31, because that E30 is just a little bit, well, it's just a little bit too pale actually, and it doesn't work as well as I had hoped. The E30s were one of the first browns. Actually, I think it was the first brown combo that I ever bought. It's a super multi-purpose one, but I have to admit I do enjoy these E70s a lot. Just that shade of brown, it does a lot for me. I really, really, really like it. It's kind of like a dark chocolate shade of brown. I've also tried to stick with just a maximum of 3 colours per kitty. The ones that have stripes, I am coming in with a 4th darker colour to do the little stripes on their foreheads. But generally speaking, you really can get away with 3 colours. If you're a beginner to Copics and you really don't have many colours and you want to learn about blending, I do have a Copic Blending for Beginners video series. I'll link to that below for you. It's a really cool way of looking at how you can get shadow and highlight without having to have so many markers. Because to be honest, when you start your collection, this isn't a cheap hobby, girls and boys. This is a serious hobby, but there are ways that you can build your collection and get great shadow and highlight on a budget. So I hope you'll check that series out when we're done with this little ATC here. We're getting to the end. So I've used some warm grey on kitties, but I'm using cool grey on the top hat. And now it's accessory time for the coffee, just with the last of the warm greys, and I've got my green kitty. I used a variety of green markers here, not ones that you would normally put together in a color blending family, but I was really happy with the way it turned out. I was mostly trying to marry this green to the background paper and get it not necessarily the color exact, but the tones. I wanted to have the tones very similar to the paper. So Kitty has a warm coffee mug, and I'm going to put the wrapper on the coffee mug, the heart in the hand, and the bow tie all in red. That's 3 features. I like the odd number of features here, which is why I fussed a little in choosing which was going to be, what was going to be my feature kitties. All right, we're coming to the home stretch. A little double-sided tape on the back of this piece. I just fussy cut it across the top, and we're going to stick this onto the front of the ATC after we remove the release paper, of course. So I've just centered it up, and it's a little wide, so I'm just trimming it down. Better to have it a little too wide than not wide enough, right? So now it's time to add the meow. If you remember, I'm using this little meow sentiment every single time today. If you can hear that noise behind me, that is my kitty cat. She's having a scratch. Her scratching post is in my office. It's the only way she'll visit me. And I'm trimming down the sentiment. I've put a little cracked pistachio distress oxide ink just around the edges to take the harshness of the white off there. And I wanted to play. I wasn't quite sure where I was going to put this little greeting, but I did decide that over to the right was just right. I'm adding some Nuvo clear drops. You could do this with glossy accents. There's heaps of products on the market that'll do this, but I picked these up last year and I like playing with them. They make really cool drops. So I've put a few random drops on the background. I'm also using it to gloss up the kitties' noses, and I will be using it on the heart as well to make that heart nice and glossy with a little bit of rays in it. Just tapping the back of my ATC, and look, that's it. I'm finished. It's super flat. I stash dived. I used what I had. If you are interested in the ATC swap I'm hosting here in Australia, you can find more about it at the blog post below. I'll link it up. You can also find a full materials list. I'll link that blog post below as well. I do hope you're enjoying this series. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a very crafty day, and I will see you for day 4 tomorrow. Bye for now.